This is the Voice of Wichita Falls on NewsTalk 1290.
Well, everyone, welcome to another episode or installment or whatever you want to call it, of the Voice of Wichita Falls, this weekly program that we've launched here. I think we're about a month old now, aren't we, Henry?
I think we've done more than that.
I think we've done, maybe we have done more than that. I've kind of lost count now. Anyway, welcome to the program, guys. Glad to have you back. Glad to have Henry Florsheim back, President and CEO of the Wichita Falls Chamber of Commerce.
Thanks, Mike. Good to be here.
You have been a busy guy.
Tell you what, I'm busier than I have ever been.
I think you are. I think you certainly have been.
I'm probably going to end up giving 50 or more presentations about this election before it's all said and done, and people are just wanting to know what's going on.
Yeah, they are. Well, the curiosity is important. That people are actually wanting to learn and find out what's happening.
Right.
What the bond issues are.
And our
about.
goal here, no matter how people vote, is come May 5th to make sure that we have educated as many people as possible on the individual propositions that are on the ballot and how the election is going to work and why these things are important.
Right.
And that we get a high turnout. That's our goal here, is that the people are actually making a statement, whatever that statement is.
Right.
We want people to vote, not have what we've had in the past a lot of times, which is a low turnout, which means the people are making decisions by not voting. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, well, you end up with a very small handful of people that make the decision for everybody else. And, that problematic, I guess, depending on your view of it. But one of the things I want to hit on is this self-perpetuating notion here in Wichita Falls that there's nothing to do in Wichita Falls. And I want to talk about how the chamber impacts or is impacted by entertainment and different options and things to do in Wichita Falls, and what kind of a role the chamber plays in that. I hear people all the time, there's nothing to do in Wichita Falls, which of course is not true. There's plenty to do. There's, like this month, we've had the Cattle Barons Ball this past weekend. This as we're airing this tonight, we've got the second night of Cowboy True, which is a fundraiser for the Forum. And then next week, we've got PRCA Rodeo, and I'm not sure what's happening the weekend after that, but there's plenty of stuff going on.
Right. And we just had the big Beatles tribute in town, and I know the crowd was just so for that. And there's all sorts of good entertainment that comes in, whether it's put on by locals or from visiting promoters from out of town.
Right.
And it seems like every time there's a big event, there's more than one thing going on. And I hear people complain about that. I don't want to live in a city where there's only one thing happening every night. And so you're right. I think a lot of times the challenge is how do you find information about what's going on? And there are several websites. We run ChooseWichitaFalls.com, which has an event calendar that you can go post events for free.
Right.
The CVB's also got a good website. Downtown Development keeps track of everything that's happening downtown. Mm-hmm. And so if you just look for information online or on Facebook, you can find it. But yeah, there are things happening all the time. I'm constantly amazed at how much live music there is in this city.
Yes, there is a lot. How is the chamber connected to or involved in any of the events that come here? Do you have a hand in that at all, or any of the promotion of that?
We don't typically have a hand in the management or logistics of those events. We do help promote it through Choose Wichita Falls and through the chamber's Facebook page as well. In terms of the programs that we put on, they're really more geared towards the business community, and those could be educational opportunities or networking events and that sort of thing. So we're not the type of organization that puts on festivals and shows and concerts and that sort of thing, but we certainly support those efforts and want more of that to happen here. And so we'll do everything that we can to help spread the word.
Well, we've talked a lot about quality of life in Wichita Falls, and what does that mean? What are the components of that? What makes a good quality of life here? And obviously entertainment options, events going on in town, that is a big part of that as well. But people have got to get out and support these things if they expect them to come here and come back again, perhaps.
I'm constantly surprised at how there is this talk about how there's nothing to do here, and then when there are good things to do here, people don't go.
Right.
And I'll go back to the Wichita Falls Nighthawks as a good example, okay?
Yeah.
I don't understand that for the life of me. This is a football community more than any other sport. There's a football community. When they changed to the indoor football league, they moved inside. They had games on Saturday nights. It was air conditioned. You could buy drinks and food, and it was comfortable, and people still didn't go. Yeah. Not enough to support it. And so this whole idea that there's nothing to do, that's bull. People need to get out and spend their money.
Well, I've seen people recently complain on Facebook about, well, they took away the arena football, they took away the hockey. And I'm like, who is they?
Right. You took it away. Right. Everybody complaining, and the ones that didn't go, they took it away.
Right. I mean, we didn't support it financially enough as a community. And the fact of the matter is, all these things can't be free.
Right.
You can't do things for free. Everything can't be. First of all, even if you're told something is free, it's not actually free.
Somebody's paying for it.
Somebody's underwriting the cost of it somewhere along in the chain, somewhere along the line. Someone's underwriting the cost of it. So it's not truly free. But, you can't expect people to, organizations like the Nighthawks or the hockey team to just lose money year after year after year.
Right? And the nonprofits that put on events, they do it to generate revenue, to support their organizations and the causes that they give to as well. And so nobody's out there putting on events just for the sake of the community, right? None of the events that you go to does that happen. The events that are downtown, like Cajun Fest and St. Patty's Day, downtown development uses the proceeds from those events to support their efforts downtown, and on and on and on. Everybody does that. And so if an event's not making money because people aren't going, that event will not happen here.
Exactly. And we've seen a lot of events come here that didn't do very well. Rain is one of them this past week, the past Sunday night that comes to mind. The crowd, maybe 500 or 600 people. I'm not sure what the exact head count was, but it was well below 1,000. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I saw a picture on Facebook of the crowd. It was pretty weak, and I heard it was an amazing show.
It is. Well, they're one of the best Beatles tribute bands in the country. They play shows in L.A. and New York and Dallas, major cities. So to get a group of that caliber to come here is great for us, I think. But then when the crowd's not there, those guys walk out on stage and, they see 500, 600 faces in a venue that should hold 2,500. Makes it kind of hard to get them to come back again, doesn't it?
Oh, and it always depends on the money. Every promoter has a different threshold that they got to make X number of dollars to pay the bills just to appear here, and anything above that is profit. Yeah. And so that goes back to why propositions E and F are so important, because providing upgrades to our event venues, F, especially with the auditorium, putting that sound system in there that's not there right now could save that promoter $15,000 or more.
Right.
And so anything we can do to not only get more people in the seats, but to make it easier and better and cheaper for people to perform here will help us attract more entertainment.
The way for the public, I think, to look at it is it improves the customer experience for you, the customer. Yeah. The person who's buying the ticket, going to the show, sitting there and enjoying the entertainment. If it improves the experience for you, great.
No doubt.
Absolutely.
No doubt. And I think most of us also like it when there's a full crowd and there's a lot of excitement at an event too, rather than, a quarter full auditorium that's kind of dead. Yeah. And so I don't understand it, but people got to get out and support these things. You got
to get out and support them. And, in particular, I want to go back. You mentioned nonprofits a moment ago. And one of the event coming up that's going on this weekend, Cowboy True, which is part of the forum. It's a fundraiser for them. It's all part of the Arts Council, Wichita Falls. And I happen to be on the committee for Cowboy True and have been since the inception of this thing. And we have watched this event grow. And I will tell you, we've been very successful. Tonight, Saturday night, we will put 500 plus butts in those seats for that steak dinner and that auction. Okay. And it's a $65 ticket individually to attend this event. So by comparison, by comparison to events of similar caliber in other cities, it's cheaper. It's a less expensive event. For us locally, it's a little more expensive than the average event, perhaps. But we've been very successful. And I think we've hit on something there that people want. And that's, this stuff is about cowboy art and the cowboy culture. And so that's something people obviously around here like and are attracted to and will go and spend money on. And it's for a good cause. These other nonprofits in the area, they all have some event they do to raise money for their organization. It's important we support them as well whenever we can.
Well, it's interesting because the nonprofits have to adapt just like businesses do.
Sure.
So you'll have events that at one point were a cornerstone of our community, and then one day they're gone. Right. Falls Fest is a big example. When I moved here, people were just in love with Falls Fest. Yeah. Couldn't talk enough about it. And then a couple of years later, whether it was lack of sponsors or lack of attendees or lack of volunteers to put it on or whatever, it is no more.
Yeah. I think it was a 30-year-old event, and I think some things maybe had grown a little weary or
some things run their course. Sometimes they just run their course.
I think maybe it did run its course. Could something else come along and replace that could be just as successful? I think it could.
Sure. That's our strategy at the chamber, and the staff would tell you this. Nothing is sacred. Yeah. At any given time, we could kick something to the curb. It doesn't matter how successful it's been in the past.
Yeah.
If it no longer serves a purpose, or if things have changed in the market or in our community, which make that not as important anymore, then we'll just get rid of it. We'll move on.
Well, I know you had mentioned some discussion about schools, and there's sort of a movement out here that's developed around the bond issues about, no, let's don't do this right now. Let's focus on schools first, then go back and worry about the bonds. And I know, am I on the right track there?
Yeah, you are. Good old Facebook again, and have been having several conversations lately with people who are talking about, we don't need to do this, and these are just frivolous expenses, and nobody's ever going to come unless we fix our schools, and so we need to address those first. Yeah. And first, I'll say, well, where the heck were you when we passed the jail bond last fall? I didn't hear you talking at all about how that wasn't important, and the jail does not improve the quality of life for anybody here. It was needed. Okay, right. It was needed, and the county did the right thing if they were going to pass it, to do it the way they did. But there was no public outcry then. There was no saying, let's hold off on this stuff. We need to address schools first. Here's the fact. If we want to be a great city, we've got to address all of it. It's not multiple choice. And if we don't get them all right, it's not going to happen. And so, yes, we're going to have to address our schools. But, yes, we have to address downtown. We have to fix the trail, and we have to do these other things that improve the quality of life here for people who are here and for people we're trying to attract to visit and to move here. And if we don't do all these things, we will suffer. If people come and we have great schools, but there's nothing to do, or downtown looks like it's been dead for 20 years, or we've got half-finished recreational assets, they're still going to think poorly of us. So the fact of the matter is, we've got to do it all.
We talked a little bit about this last program with Trey Serralo when he was here. Trey was for 10 or 11 years, 12 years, was a board member with Wichita Falls ISD. And so he saw and was in on many discussions about schools, what we ought to do or not do. We've had a couple of big school bond issues fail over the last few years. And one of them had to do with building a new high school. And I personally think part of what killed that one was the idea of combining the two biggest high schools in the city into one. And, the voters, parents, grandparents, all the people involved in those two schools, they didn't want that. They want two brand new schools, one for each of them. And that comes with a price tag. And so, I go back to, how do we sell that? And you got to sell it to the public. You have to go to them and make the case, explain why it's important, and then convince them to buy the product, or in this case, vote for the bonds. How in the world are we going to get that done? I mean, in your mind, is there a secret formula anywhere we can go to for this?
Well, what we've got to do, so thinking back to that election in 2014 that failed, I had just gotten here, and so I don't know all the details about how that plan was developed in the first place. I know there were some public meetings, and there was a group that was put together, I think it was called CFAT, that helped develop that plan, but I don't know if that was a real comprehensive, getting feedback from the entire community before the thing was developed or not. Maybe it was, but it did not feel like it was the voice of the community being heard when that proposition went forward. Right. Plus, there was some outside money involved with messing with us and a lot of other communities around the state at the same time that had bond elections for schools coming up. You remember there was the message, it's okay to vote no, in a group called the Citizens for a Better Bond. Look, I'm still waiting for that group to bring forth this better bond. They didn't do it, and they lied, and they knew they were doing it. All they were trying to do was kill that proposition. Right. That's fine. Okay, it's done, but it's time to move forward. And so I think we need to do what we did with the CEC Center development, but then in spades. So if you remember, after that bond failed in 2014, the Chamber of Commerce went to our members and said, hey, where do you see the most need for improvement here in our educational system? And they told us career and technical ed at the high school levels. And so we went to the administration and said, hey, if you come forward with a proposition that features this as the centerpiece, we'll help you pass it. And long story short, that's what happened. One of our strategies in this new economic development plan we're about to unveil next week is the idea of school facilities and how we help the ISD get there. Mm-hmm. It can't be this mindset of, well, the ISD's got to bring us a plan that we'll vote for. Mm-hmm. We got to tell the ISD what that is. And so we're going to be helping. And when I say we, not just the chamber, there is this community-driven group that's creating this plan that represents the entire community, okay? And so we're going to figure out how do we help the ISD gather information about what the voters really want nowadays, okay? Because that's how something will pass. I don't know what the answer is yet, if it's one high school or two or three or a bunch of new ones or a bunch of renovations or what. I don't know. But we're going to have to help them gather that information. Mm-hmm. And if it's done, and it's done right, and we the community tell the ISD what we want, and the ISD thinks that's feasible, whatever that is, and then they come out with a plan that helps us address those needs, it should pass. Should. Right? But if we expect the ISD to just sit off in the corner and create a plan without us giving them input, that's on us. That's our fault there. And so we've got to proactively take those steps and help them figure out what this community really wants. They're not educating people and building schools for their own sake. Right. They're doing it for us, just the same way the city council provides their services and makes decisions on behalf of all of us. We need to help the ISD figure out what that is.
Now, from the chamber's point of view and the chamber's input here, when you say you've got a committee together, you're putting together a group of individuals, or you have put together a group of individuals that represent the community. Do you have a timeline for, okay, we're going to start on this date and we're going to have a plan ready to present to the ISD on this date? Or are you just kind of letting this thing evolve however naturally it does? I am almost able to answer that question for you. Okay.
So our strategy will be finalized on April 26th, and that's the day our committee has their next meeting. And we'll be talking about the implementation plan. Okay. So we already know that school facilities is going to play a major role in there. What I have not seen yet, and I'm still waiting on from our consultant, and I'll probably have the first draft this week, is that implementation plan. And that's going to tell us who's responsible for each piece of the plan and what are the timelines, how are we going to measure success, and that sort of thing. And so I would envision over the next few months, we're going to be pulling some groups together and gathering information and helping the ISD figure this out.
Okay. Well, it certainly sounds like you've already got a good plan in place for how to get to the plan.
We started down that path.
You started down that path. And that's how all this has to begin. Someone's got to get the ball rolling on it. And I agree. I mean, public schools are something we've got to have. I mean, private school, homeschool, whatever is not for everybody. Right. You're always going to have a need for a public school system. That's just how it is. And the facilities have got to be something worthwhile. And clearly we've got one facility that's very old, very outdated, and just rife with problems. And another one that's overcrowded and developing its own set of problems physically, beyond just the overcrowding issue. And, next month, next year, 10 years from now, somewhere in the future, we've got to address this. And obviously, from the time we get a plan in place, we get a bond put together, you get it to the voters, you get it approved, then you've still got a good 2 years probably beyond that before you see anything.
No doubt.
There that you can move into. So this is not an overnight plan. None of this is.
We just have to start and keep making progress. Right. And we made a ton of progress with the CEC Center. That's transforming how we prepare our kids for the workforce, whether it's straight out of high school or planning to go to college and then some. Yeah. And so that's amazing. And that's something we can show parents. Right. But you're right. If we're talking about somebody moving here, it's good to show them that, hey, we're in progress, or that we just passed this, or we're going to build this. But at some point, it's got to get done.
Well, let's fast forward here. Let's go forward, say, 5 years. We've passed the city bonds. We've got these projects in the books. They're done. We've passed a school bond. We've got 2 brand new high schools built. That's done. Then from that point, the chamber, it would seem to me, then you come up with a new marketing plan for the city. You've got all this brand new stuff here, a new way to present the city of Wichita Falls to people outside the city of Wichita Falls.
Well, the real thing is a great city markets itself. Yeah. Okay? A great city markets itself. And what I mean by that is we've got businesses right now that are here that are trying to recruit workforce in from the outside.
Of course.
Okay? And if we're not providing those companies with a city that makes it easy for them to recruit people to move here to, we're not doing them any favors. And so if we're fixing these issues, fixing schools, and downtown is amazing, and we've got great recreational assets throughout the community, and we're improving things, okay, then the business community will make that work to their advantage when they're trying to recruit people here. So it's not always about a structured ad campaign and a brand, but it's more about that everyday sort of existence that a city offers to its residents and to the business community that helps them do things better.
The Chamber of Commerce, though, you can help with basically from the marketing aspect, marketing it to people well outside of Wichita Falls.
Oh, sure.
You can reach out to those areas that are, outside of the word of mouth kind of thing.
Well, for starters, we get calls every day from people either planning a visit here or potentially interested in moving here. And so the more we have to sell, the easier it makes it on us when we're telling the story of the city. Yeah. And then at the same time, every week we're giving people driving tours that are either visiting business executives considering Wichita Falls as a location, or a company's got somebody coming in, they're trying to recruit. We can help with that by giving a tour and showing them neighborhoods and things to do and schools and all that sort of thing. Every time we improve anything, it makes it that much easier to tell the story when we're showing somebody around.
So let me ask you this. When you get those phone calls, is there a particular question that you get asked most often? Is there one particular thing that all of them are looking for?
No, it runs the gamut. It just depends on that person and their interest. And so we're always customizing the conversation, customizing the relocation packet that we send to them. It all depends on how old they are, what interests they tell us they have. Do they have kids? What type of work are they going into? What are their hobbies? What sort of environment do they like to live in? And what sort of recreation do they enjoy? And so we'll just customize the discussion based upon those things.
Yeah. So here's what the city has to offer you for your particular
exactly.
situation.
And so, for example, if a company's got an engineer coming in that they're trying to recruit from elsewhere, we'll try to find out as much as we can about them up front, right? And so if the HR manager is able to tell us, this person's really they're a heavy duty jogger, okay, and this is the type of church they go to, and this or whatever. Well, we'll go show them the Circle Trail, and we'll go show them those churches here, and we'll go show them whatever it is, the things that we've learned about them. There's never a one size fits all,
right?
Not even for you or me.
Right.
And so if we're going to show somebody around and we're going to take the time to do that, we're going to do it right.
Okay. Circling back to the bonds real quick here. Okay, so the early voting gets underway here in just a few days.
23rd.
Okay.
Yep, Monday the 23rd.
And that will continue through May the...
It'll go through the next Tuesday. And so it'll be Monday through Friday, and then it'll be the next Monday and Tuesday.
Okay, so it'll be April 30th, May 1st.
That's right.
Then we've got the actual bond election itself on Saturday, May the 5th.
That's correct. And you can find info on voting, where to vote, and the times of early voting at fallsfuture.com.
Yeah, which is a great little website you guys have created particularly for these bonds and to explain them and why they're important and you break down the details.
Exactly.
And the city also has a website where then I think you link to it on yours.
Sure. If you go to fallsfuture.com, at the bottom of the page, there will be other resources, and there's a link to the city's page as well.
Right. And they break it down a lot finer. When they
do. Well, they show videos from the public meetings where city staff presented to council all the different options that council had to choose from to put into this package. And so you can go to the streets video, for example, and learn more about why they picked the projects that they did and what other projects were considered and perhaps why they weren't selected to be part of this proposition. The city's done a really good job of providing a lot of info to educate the voters. Yeah. And fallsfuture.com is a great starting point to find all that info.
Well, and I'm glad you created that website because it gives people sort of a better organized view of what's happening.
Well, I'm glad. Thank you for saying that. We are constantly updating it every day, whether it's new content or news stories or testimonials. We've gotten several testimonials just this week.
Yes.
For example, the board of the Wichita Falls Ballet Theater is endorsing Proposition F because the upgrades to Memorial Auditorium would help their productions. The Wichita Falls Police Officers Association has endorsed Proposition D, which is the new municipal center. And so the whole conversation about how does this affect the police, how could this possibly affect police raises in the future and other sorts of compensation and benefits? Well, the Police Officers Association says that D is a good thing for them. And so if you back the blue, please consider that.
And I've had a couple of people ask me, well, why haven't we heard more out of the mayor or more out of the city council about this? They do have to be very careful about what they say about this right now.
That's right. They are illegal prohibited.
For them. Right.
Right. There are jail sentences and fines
right.
if they are prosecuted for advocating for these propositions. It is against the law for them to do so.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons the Chamber Board voted to endorse all 7 propositions so we could get out in front of this, because otherwise there was nobody out there that was actively endorsing all 7, the entire package.
Right. Well, Henry, if people have questions or concerns about the city of Wichita Falls, if someone from outside the city has questions or concerns about, should I move there? If I do move there, what's it going to be like? And can I move my business there? What kind of amenities are offered? Obviously, you've got all that information, as we just talked about. All they got to do is reach out to you, and you can help them.
I try to be as accessible and as available to people as I can. And so you can call the chamber anytime, 723-2741. My email address is henry@wichitafallschamber.com. That's all one word. And so send me a note, befriend me on Facebook, and send me a message there. I don't care. If you want to talk about what's going on in Wichita Falls, if you got questions about why, or how does something fit into the future plans, or why didn't we do this, or why should we vote on these things now instead of schools first, or whatever your questions are, let's talk.
Henry will even argue with you on the Rants and Raves page.
I am not afraid of rants and raves, and frankly, I think the tone on there has toned down a lot since I first moved here. It was pretty rough and rabid, but as of late, it's not quite so much. I mean, there's still plenty of entertaining conversations, I'll just say, on there, but we've had some very civil conversations about these propositions and the future of the city and that sort of thing. So I don't hide from those discussions. It's just another way for us to get our message out about what's really happening and why these things are important and what we've got to do if we want to become a great city.
Henry Florsheim, President and CEO of the Wichita Falls Chamber of Commerce, thanks again for being here for another program. We'll be back with you next week. And don't forget, you can, obviously, if you're watching this, you're watching on one of our station websites. We're on YouTube. You can listen to the program online. You can listen to it on your mobile device, your Android or iPhone, with our mobile app, which you can download in the App Store on your device. And also we're on Alexa now as well. So there's a lot of ways people can hear us, Henry.
Yeah, my kids hear every week. In one of another stations, the kids will come home and say, "Daddy, we heard you on the radio in Mama's car." They hadn't started arguing with any of my points yet, so that's good.
You got them on your side fully, I guess. Huh? All right. Well, thanks for listening and watching The Voice of Wichita Falls. We're back with you next week. Take care.